everyone. We are moving on to the next session, which is our first part of Giving Matters. And we're trying to be technologically more savvy. And so we have the privilege of having Rohini Nilekani on the other side of the US in San Francisco. And so she's dialing in, and we're going to have a conversation with her. Rohini, just to let you know, we have a room full of enthusiastic people interested in learning about India and giving and adolescent girls. So I'm not going to take all the airtime. I'm going to hand it over to you, but just with sort of an opening question of tell us about your own giving journey. I think for us from Dasra, you've been a huge supporter in terms of being one of the very few philanthropists who speaks out to giving. In fact, Rohini helped us launch the very first Indian Philanthropy Forum in Mumbai about 5 years ago. So she's been a great supporter. She's spoken out quite vocally about how important it is to give, how important it is to be strategic. I had a wonderful session a year later at the Indian Philanthropy Forum speaking to how does it feel to be a woman that's giving, and sometimes you're not necessarily creating the wealth, but you're often responsible for how that wealth has an impact. And so we're very excited to beam you in here. And so if you can give us just a sense of your own journey and learnings, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much, Meera. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. I'm sorry I cannot be there. I'm here in foggy California. But hello to you all, and thank you for this opportunity. So about 15 years ago, when we came into some wealth, I was lucky enough to have invested in a small little company way back in 1981, which my husband started. And over the years, it made us wealthy enough that I had to start thinking about the responsibility that wealth brought about. It took me some time to figure it out, but I now truly and firmly believe that all wealth has to be responsible for the public good, because that's what it's meant for. Wealth is meant to be taken forward, given forward, and shared, and that has its multiple rewards, and that's been the journey that I've been on for the last 15 years. I think the people gathered in your room are already philanthropists, are already share what I just expressed. In my own journey in India, and I can only speak really about India, I think that the new wealth that has been created in India rapidly in the last 20 years is beginning to really embark on a philanthropic journey now. Personally, I, together with a few other people in India, have been part of an effort to help increase philanthropy, to make people speak out more openly and publicly about whom they're giving to, what causes they are supporting, and why. And I think this is a very healthy trend. In addition to that, I think there's also a lot more public attention and public pressure on the wealthy, and I think that's all to the good. So my journey in philanthropy has been first with education quite a bit for many years. I also co-founded and supported what became India's largest non-profit children's publishing house called Pratham Books, and we were able to reach millions of children for the first time with indigenous, age-appropriate content, our goal was to put a book in every child's hand and make it a joyful experience. And for the last 10 years, I've also been deeply involved in the water and sanitation sector through my foundation, Arghyam. And recently, I've also expanded my philanthropy portfolio to issues of governance, independent media, and the like, transparency, accountability. Because I believe that no matter what silo you work in from your passion, it might be health, it might be adolescent girls, it might be something else, eventually in countries like India, you are going to hit the governance deficit. And across all silos, if we can work to create better governance, I think our philanthropic goals can also be met. So that's enough for starters, Neera, but you could ask me the next question.
Yeah, sure. So now tell us a little bit about Rohini. What do you think is the role for the U.S. and philanthropists, whether Indian or non-Indians, out here have a role to play? Because we often get accused or put up there as a superpower, wealthy. You know, what does India need our money for? You know, just your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'm going to be frank and I'm going to say that yes, Indian philanthropists need to put up more, and I think and hope they will. But in the meantime, India is a hugely strategic country in the world today. If India succeeds, if India does well, if the 400 million people still waiting for opportunity, access to opportunity, do well, I truly believe the world does well alongside. And I think India is also a place where philanthropists, because many other things are right in the country, where philanthropists can also get a very enriching learning experience through doing pilots or scale up on the ground, because those lessons can then be applied in any other country. And this has been happening over the last few years. Another reason why I would very strongly say that people in America, the diaspora community, needs to get engaged in supporting really interesting and innovative efforts in India is because the truth is that a lot of the traditional philanthropic capital is fleeing from India for a variety of reasons. And that vacuum needs to be filled. I truly believe that a lot of potential exists for good philanthropy. And as I said, philanthropy has two-way rewards, as much to the giver as the receiver. So I think it's a huge opportunity.
Tell us a little bit, Rohini, about the challenges. We had a morning session with Peter Smitham and Vijay Garodia and Desh Deshpande, and Jeff Braddock was moderating it. Can you hear me? Everybody think of questions. Write them down.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rohini? Hello? Hello? We see Nandan running in the back. Is it her sound? Yeah. Is she dialing the wrong number? Okay, awesome. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you again. We lost the connection.
Yes. Okay, we're back. Everybody's writing down some really challenging questions. But before we go to those questions, can you give us a sense of some of the challenges that you've had, Rohini, in sort of your own giving experience as folks think about their own giving?
I think finding the right organizations to work with is always a challenge, because you want good leadership, you want integrity, and you want partners whom you can be on some wavelength with. I think that becomes a challenge. I think it's always a challenge to know exactly which area to work in and what kind of impact you want. As you know, over the years, I have not been very fanatical about metrics and outcomes, but that does not mean that you don't want your philanthropic rupee or dollar to have some impact on the lives of the people you are trying to support or the issue you are trying to support. So I think getting the metrics right, however you want them, and making sure you have the right partner and that you're really strategically working towards a goal. I think those are some of the challenges you have to overcome.
And can you just add in your perspective? And so often, no.
Hello?
Yeah, you're still there. Can you hear me? Rohini, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Neera?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Not
keep
very
going.
clear here.
So, I was going to ask. We've seen over the number of years, and then there's a lot of folks in our audience here who do a lot of their giving and thinking more strategically in a family. And so, how do you, and we see Nandan walking in the back, how,
Nandan, we can see you walking in the back. Do you want to say hi since you're there? He's gone. Okay.
But we have several husbands and wives and couples and families that think about doing their own giving together. Can you just talk about how you guys do it together, and are there sort of ways that you help structure this? How do you keep everybody's opinion and what they're passionate about balanced? Just some advice on that front, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Right. It's a good question. I think there's no one right answer. Nandan and I are independent thinkers, and we have though we have common social vision. Sometimes our approaches are quite different. So what Nandan and I do is I do philanthropy my way, he does philanthropy his way, and then in between there is also a bridge where we do stuff together. So for example, together we have supported several institutions because both of us do believe that we need to build out all kinds of institutions in India. So say whether it's NCAR or IIHS or a few other instances, both he and I separately give into the same organization. And now, for example, he and I have together embarked on a new game-based learning project together. But otherwise, we talk to each other a lot about what we are going to do independently. But so in our case particularly, we have both independent and joint portfolios. So I think there's no one way to do this, but this has been our way.
Great. I'm going to open it up to questions while we still have you. Anybody? Or I'll call on you.
Hi Rohini,
Hello?
this is Chetna Sinha. I have a question that in India, because of CSR, that new regulation, lot of new people are entering into giving, not because they are passionate, but also because there is a law and they want to give. And in that case, you meet lot of philanthropists who want to give. They are not very clear in the ideas, but we as a sort of person who is going to receive, many times I feel that we need to prepare something for them so that it helps. So how do you advise like receivers, that sometimes receivers have to play a role in that situation, that this is the way, and which is going to sustain for longer partnerships? So how would you advise for that?
I think that's a really good question. It's part of the ecosystem building that is needed. And I think platforms like Dasra, I'm really proud of what Dasra has achieved. And like you are saying, in fact, it's a very good point that the receivers or those who need to raise philanthropic capital also have to build out the case, have to make the case to philanthropists about why their money being put in these directions is going to serve the cause. So traditionally in India, I think many organizations have not been up to that level of communication or branding, if you like, because somehow that's not been seen to be the right thing to go out and sell yourselves in many cases. But I think the time has come to make the case, and organizations like Dasra that make a very strategic case for investments in areas such as the adolescent girl child or the urban sanitation question or the malnourishment question. I think all of those steps really help.
Hi Rohini. Hi Rohini. This is
Hello?
Raj Gilda from Lender Hand, India. In your giving decision, I wonder, are you funding the cause or are you funding the person, or or the people who are behind it? Because both are in a way go hand in hand, and what plays, what sort of factor or decision making it factors in your
I think
grant.
that's another great question. So in my own portfolio, I do both. I think I don't presume to have all the answers or all the solutions. but I can see that in India there is a wide range of people who have real experience or have really thought about something and therefore have a certain approach. Sometimes I may not even agree fully with the approach, but if I believe in that leadership or the commitment or the passion, I'm willing to sometimes go with that passion and commitment and integrity. And because I also have some ideas on what areas I like to focus on, such as water, sanitation, governance, and the environment, independent media, etc. So then I come from the cause perspective and look for good people to support and good institutions to support. So again, I do both, but that's a good question because sometimes you have to support the cause and hope to gather the right people. Sometimes you have to go with the good people and trust that they will be supporting and leading the right cause. I think trust becomes essential.
Hi Rohini, this is Poonam Mutreja from PFI. In your opening statements, you said there is a governance deficit. We also know there's huge corruption, inefficiencies that grassroots groups have to struggle with constantly, and they do not get funds from large organizations. I'm talking about the small NGOs, activists in India, and in most societies, it is the local philanthropists that fund them. And this is a huge problem in India because, as you know, we have a lot of very committed groups, activists who are really short of funding. How do we get a culture of giving where such groups and sort of its political work that can be funded?
Yes, Poonam, we know that it is still a challenge in India, and my understanding of this is that some of the work that is being done by organizations that are, really struggling with issues of human rights or displacement or really backward communities that need a lot of basic access. And I think those kinds of things were being funded from outside all these years, and you know how the climate has changed in India on that. I think it is up to all of us who care about such things to build the environment and build the case that that kind of work needs to be locally supported. I think it's going to take some more time, but I have hopes that it will happen because as people start to work in whichever area they are working on, they will come across these basic issues, and then I think we will see the change happening. Certainly, on my side, I do strike up these conversations anytime I'm with other people who are interested in giving, and it's up to all of us to create the right climate for those issues to come out and become part of the larger philanthropic giving in India. We have to do it.
Hi, this is Bulbul Gupta from the Clinton Global Initiative. Just to build off of that answer, I'm curious as to how you think about signing things like the Giving Pledge or how that comes up in conversations with other ultra high net worth individuals, especially Indian philanthropists, and whether you've considered at all impact investing as a part of your ability to bring private investment thinking to the social
I'm
sector.
sorry, you guys are breaking up a little.
Ah,
I just heard the
figures.
word impact investing.
Yeah, so Rohini, the question was, what's your thoughts on the Giving Pledge, and how do you think Indians look at that, as well as what your thoughts are on impact investing?
Right. So on the Giving Pledge, Nandan and I have not yet joined it, but I never say never. I just felt that while I think it's a fantastic thing that the Gates and the Buffetts are doing, and as I keep learning more about it, I can really see the value of that. I think in India, perhaps culturally, we may need a different approach. And over the last 3 years, we've been through the India Philanthropy Initiative, and Bill has been a part of that from the, and we often brainstorm with him as well. We are trying a different track in India, and I think it's working. So really, it's about whatever works. On the impact investing side, over the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of work happening where philanthropic capital is going towards filling the governance gaps through market opportunities for the lower end of the economic pyramid. And I think in many cases there have been astounding, successes. But in my own portfolio, for the large part, I have kept it to non-profit activity. So I have been, I so far stayed away from too much of direct for-profit investments, even if they are at a very small and local level. Because one, I myself don't come from a background of say running a company, so that's not my skill set. And secondly, I think a lot of other people are doing impact investing in social enterprises that are for profit. And I think there is still a lot more work that needs to be done on the for profit side. Because without making a very long answer, I really believe that we need to invest in the samaj or the society first, or at least concurrently, so that markets can be more accountable to people and governments can be more accountable to citizens. And I think that work is essential, and I think at least most of my philanthropic capital will be going into that space.
Just before we break for lunch, any last words of advice, Rohini?
I'm so happy that there is so much focus on giving and giving in India, and all of us are beginning to see just how much everything is interconnected, and the creation of the wealth and the sharing of the wealth. On that continuum, there are rewards all around, and I'm very happy to be part of this whole movement. And thank you all for sharing your interest about giving in India, and thanks to Dasra for this opportunity. Just let's all keep in touch and learn from each other. Thank you very much and namaste.
Thanks. Bye.